Hello guys, welcome back to the Political Science Forum. My name is Ameya Godbole, and in this video I'll be covering the point of the comparative politics. Comparative politics is the topic of the paper 2 of the political science paper. So a lot of students face this issue as to what is comparative politics, what comprises the comparative politics, what is the definition of it, and how to write answers on this topic. In this video, I'll discuss this topic of the comparative politics in detail, and by the end of this video, you'll understand this topic in detail and you'll be able to write awesome answers on this paper. So stay tuned. So comparative politics is defined as the study and analysis of the domestic politics. For example, we can compare the parliamentary democracy in India with the presidential democracy of the USA. So, through comparative politics, we can analyze the democracies or the democratic models that are there in these two countries. Similarly, we can analyze and compare the institutions of president in India versus the office of the president in the USA. We can also compare the party system in India versus the party system in USA. Similarly, we can compare the other political offices, the political institutions, and the overall political setup between various countries. So this is what is the meaning of the comparative politics. The name comparative politics sounds to be a sort of a jargon, but this is just one of the jargons that is being used in the political science paper. Don't get bogged down by these names. Take the literal meaning of the term. Comparative politics means we compare the different institutions, we compare the different political offices. Let us try to understand the comparative politics through a small example. We say that the Indian Constitution is inspired or it draws features from the several other constitutions. For example, the fundamental rights in the Indian Constitution are inspired from the fundamental rights mentioned in the American Constitution. Similarly, the fundamental duties mentioned in the Indian Constitution are inspired from the fundamental duties mentioned in the Russian Constitution. Likewise, the directive principles of the state policy which are mentioned in the Indian Constitution are inspired from the Irish Constitution. So we can say that the overall exercise of making the Indian Constitution involved the comparative analysis of several other constitutions. So hope the idea of comparative politics is cleared with this small example. Now, there are two major approaches to study the comparative politics. These are traditional approaches and the modern approaches. The traditional approaches comprise philosophical approach, historical approach, legal approach, institutional approach, and so on. Similarly, the modern approaches comprise political economy, political sociology, systems approach, and so on. I've made a separate video on the philosophical approach as well as the historical approach, and I'll be covering each of these approaches in detail through separate videos. Now, let us study the traditional approaches in brief. The traditional approaches comprise of the philosophical approach, legal approach, historical approach, institutional approach, and so on. The traditional approaches compare the institutions as well as the offices of the developed state, or what we call as the global north. The traditional approaches are largely formal and systematic. The traditional approaches involve the study and they analyze the institutions and systems of the USA, Europe, or the global north in general. So you see, the traditional approaches is largely limited in scope, and it's largely concerned with analyzing the systems and offices of the developed state. The traditional approaches portray the Western institutions as ideal. The traditional approaches are biased. The traditional approaches are ethnocentric and prejudiced. So the traditional approaches, what they do is they analyze the different institutions and political systems of the developed states, and they portray that these institutions and the overall political setup of the developed world is ideal. It is the best political setup that the human mind can create, and it is a sort of ideal which is to be followed by the rest of the developing world or the third world. So you see, there is a bias in favor of the developed world in the traditional approaches. The focus of the traditional approaches is largely on explanation and description of the political institutions, their features, their characteristics, and so on. The traditional approaches also neglect the comparative analysis of the third world or the post-colonial states or the developing states. Because of this, the traditional approaches are largely non-inclusive and so they are non-comprehensive. Also, the traditional approaches focus on describing the institutions and the political setup of the developed countries. So the emphasis of the traditional approach is largely status quoist. Let us try to understand why did the modern approaches develop or evolve when we already had the traditional approaches. The first reason is the limitation of the traditional approaches. As we have seen in the earlier slide, the traditional approaches were largely ethnocentric. They were biased in favor of the developed world. They neglect the analysis and study of the developing or the post-colonial state. To address this issue, the modern approaches evolved. The second reason is the world wars. The traditional approaches failed to predict the rise of phenomena like Nazism, fascism, and so on. So the traditional approaches could not forecast or they could not imagine the rise of these undesirable phenomena which they ought to have done. To address this issue, the modern approaches evolved so that they could better analyze and study the political institutions, political offices, and so on. The traditional approaches were very ineffective to analyze the political setup of the third world countries. They were ineffective to analyze the political system, political offices of the developing state or the post-colonial states. The traditional approaches could not analyze and study the factors like the political violence, the effect of neo-colonialism, and so on. And because of this, the modern approaches evolved to address the shortcoming of the traditional approaches. Similarly, globalization and the information and communication technology is yet another reason for the rise of the modern approaches. Transnational actors' ideas like the free trade and trade liberty and so on started to influence the domestic policies. They started to affect the working of the domestic states. These factors could not be analyzed effectively using the traditional approaches, and so the modern approaches developed. The third reason is the rise of behavioralism. Behavioralism studies what is, it studies facts, it is based on empiricism, and the rise of behavioralism is said to be a factor which gave rise to the modern approaches. Further, the rise in data analytics, which allowed analyzing the voter behavior, it allowed to do the sentiment analysis. All these factors together led to the evolution of the modern approaches. We have also heard that the Cambridge Analytica and its role in meddling in the US elections and so on. These factors affect the political system, and these factors could not be analyzed using the traditional approaches, and so the modern approaches evolved to analyze these factors and how they influence the working of the domestic politics. Now let's summarize and comparatively analyze the traditional approaches with the modern approaches. The traditional approaches were limited to the developing states, whereas the modern approaches involved the study and analysis of the developing state and the post-colonial states. Traditional approaches were formal, systematic, and rigid, whereas the modern approaches were less formalistic, they were empirical and flexible. Traditional approaches shows Western institutions and the Western political system as the ideal to be followed by the rest of the world. This is not so in case of the modern approaches. The modern approaches points to the bias and prejudices which is there in the traditional approaches. Traditional approaches are largely non-inclusive and they are Europe-centric. Modern approaches, on the other hand, are inclusive. They analyze the political systems in the developing world. They analyze the political systems in the developed world as well. So the modern approaches are inclusive, and so we can say that modern approaches are truly comparative. So truly comparative is one of the important features of the modern approaches. The traditional approaches focus on explanation, description, and so these approaches are status quoist. On the other hand, the modern approaches focus on explanation, they focus on analysis, they focus on prescription, and so they are inclined towards action, prescription, and change. So modern approaches are not status quoist. From the exam point of view, these four modern approaches are important. These are political economy, political sociology, systems approach, and structural functional analysis. I would be making a separate video on each of these approaches, but for now I would like to briefly describe these approaches. Political economy traces the roots of politics in the economics. For example, Lenin says that politics is concentrated economics. Also, Karl Marx said that politics or the political sphere is a part of the superstructure which is completely dependent on the base of the economic structure. So you see how the political economy traces the roots of politics in the economic sphere. Similarly, the political sociology traces the roots of politics in sociology. It tries to understand how the social sphere or how the social factors affect the working of the political system. For example, in the Indian context, we can say that the institution of caste affects the Indian politics. Similarly, the pressure groups and the interest groups also affect the working of the Indian state. So you see how the political sociology tries to understand the politics through the social sphere. The system approach is the third important approach of the modern approaches. It studies politics as a system in which the political inputs are fed in the political system. These political inputs are processed in the political system, and subsequently the political output is given. So the systems approach analyzes politics through the systemic approach. The fourth important approach is the structural functional analysis, which can be said as a special type of the systems approach. So this is all about the comparative politics. For a detailed write-up on this topic, you can visit our website www.politicalscienceforum.in for more objective facts on this topic. Also, I'll be making a detailed video on the specific points of the comparative politics. If you have any doubts or queries, do comment. I'd be happy to answer your queries. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Thank you so much.